everybody, welcome to another episode of Superpower Review. I'm Ken Videnia, and today I am joined by my best friend, Jake Burnell. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, man?
Nothing much. Today we're going to be talking about the new Spider-Man movie that hit theaters, Spider-Man Far From Home. Obviously, no wonder, the new Spider-Man movie. You all know what Spider-Man movie that is. This guy and I went to go see it. Jake, what'd you think of the movie?
I thought it was fantastic. I loved it way more than the first one.
Way more than the first one? Okay, all right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Before we start getting into a little bit more of this movie and what we liked and what we did not like, let's go over the stats first.
Sure.
Now, I know that you normally look at these. You kind of like wait for the show.
Honestly, it's a surprise to me and everybody on here. Like, honest, I don't watch this stuff.
IMDb gives this movie a 8.1 out of 10.
All right.
Okay. And then our favorite, Rotten Tomatoes gives this a 91% fresh tomatoes.
All right, I like that a little bit better.
The audience score gives this a 96%.
Really?
Yeah. What do you feel about this?
I'm pretty in line with that. I mean, I'm maybe like in between the two professional ratings. I'm kind of sitting around there.
Right.
I wouldn't say it's a 96, but I feel like the third one will be. If they keep going the way they're going, it's going to be a great movie.
Normally, I agree more with IMDb, but I think the IMDb scores might be a little bit low.
Yeah.
And the Rotten Tomatoes, they're 91%. I think I kind of agree with that. The audience score, obviously, everyone is loving it. So, and the movie made a lot of money.
As always.
Yeah, a lot of money. So, okay, did you see this movie in 3D? Because I did not.
I did. I always just tend to see them in 3D.
So, normally I don't see movies in 3D because it messes with my eyes. But there were some moments in this movie where I was like, man, I wish I had seen this in 3D. And just a quick reminder, guys, Superpower Review. This is a spoiler review, so we're going to just go off the hinges here. So if you haven't watched the movie yet, come back and watch this video after you're done watching the movie. So, and I think you're probably going to guesstimate what scene I'm talking about where I would wish I've seen this in 3D.
One of four.
And it's definitely my favorite scene is when Spider-Man goes and tells Nick Fury, but Mysterio is on the game plan, and that whole optical illusion scene happens. That the first fight
in the warehouse.
My goodness, that was spot on.
Have you ever watched the 1994 animated series of Spider-Man? I mean, it's pretty much Mysterio to the T.
Yeah.
It blew me away. My favorite thing about the movie is how spot on they got Mysterio.
They really did. They did a really good job. And I have to agree with something you said before, is that this one is better than the first Spider-Man Homecoming movie. I have to agree with that 100%.
If you go back and watch our previous review, we did one on the first Spider-Man one.
Yeah. And
you saw how we talked about what we liked, what we didn't like. And honestly, this is growing upon that. It's like they planned it.
Yeah.
It's like Marvel planned this. I was like, fantastic. But I like the direction they're going with it. In hindsight, I am more happy about how number one was set up to make number two look, if they planned it that way.
I agree with that. I agree with that as well. So. Another thing that I'm going to bring up too is, you and I, we always go to these movies together. We watch these movies together, and we talk about them. And one of the things that we always say is that we are so sick of seeing Spider-Man just winning by the skin of his teeth. You know what I mean? He obviously gets beat up, and he's beaten, and he wins by the skin of his teeth. But you mentioned in this movie, this Spider-Man is kind of turning into something that what we want.
Yes.
And explain about that a little bit.
So, Spider-Man makes a big blunder in the movie, gives away the Tony Stark prized possession. And of course, kid Spider-Man, he's a kid. I'll give it to him. But in the end, he ends up figuring out on how to deal with it. He makes a suit tailored to how to beat Mysterio.
Which was cool.
Or just for the even fight in general. And he shows him growing in the middle of the final fight on how to use his spider sense, his Peter tingle.
That was funny.
And just kind of how to take things down. Like he fastened a web to every single electronic piece and just electrocuted him. And it wasn't something that he always had, something that Stark gave him. It was something he developed. It was an idea he had. It's something he grew up on. He used a Stark technology to create for the specific fight. And now it's going to become one of his, utility belt items.
Yeah.
And it's the Spider-Man that's growing into the person on how to problem solve, into the person when he's older where he problem solves on the fly.
Yeah.
And I just like that he's kind of just, and he's learned how to fight better with all of his abilities. He's kind of getting used to like using the webs to like swing into the next action to take out the next thing, or how to he's just coming together. It's kind of like putting a puzzle together. He's coming together slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Starting to see the big picture.
Right. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this movie is that, Mysterio's playing tricks on Spider-Man. I loved that when I was watching this movie that I felt like Spider-Man and I didn't know what to believe was real or not.
Oh, absolutely. Because at this point, we knew Mysterio was a bad guy.
Yeah,
it's given.
exactly.
Blah, blah, blah.
I was not being fooled by that at all. I was like, okay.
But you're like, all right, come on, when's this going to happen? And how much of this is actually false? Because they show you fighting elementals. You got the 4 elementals, the big bad guy that Mysterio and Spider-Man end up teaming up to fight.
And I knew from the beginning that those elementals were not real. I knew right away.
I didn't.
You didn't?
I wasn't sure.
I picked up on that right away.
I kind of did, but I was very hesitant to believe that because they do the dual bad guy in one show.
Yeah.
Like in the last one, it was Scorpion, and it was Vulture.
Yeah,
and Shocker.
Yeah.
So they're very big on putting multiple characters together.
Yeah.
So I was very hesitant to just write them off as that's not Hydro Man or Sandman. But yeah, so I didn't want to write them off. Don't get me wrong. I had my thoughts of, this is whatever, it's an illusion. But I didn't want to just kind of write it off.
Yeah.
So I went with it with the idea of like, I don't know, I'm not sure. I'm just going to let it play out. So that's kind of how I just kind of watched the movie and gave me some like a little bit of fresh eyes. So kind of when it did come out, I was like, all right, okay. And they just showed it, and they showed how it played out. I was really happy with that.
Yeah. The only thing I'm not 100% sure of, or I don't know what to believe, is he really a Mysterio from a multi-universe like Nick Fury says when we first meet him?
Oh, absolutely not.
Absolutely not? Okay.
No, because if you remember when, so Peter Parker gives away the glasses.
Yeah.
Peter leaves, and the bar scene where they unfurl their giant master plan.
True.
The guy ends up spewing about how he wrote this ridiculous outer space story that everyone fell for.
Yeah. Did you like their backstories and how they
I did. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I was like, very like bad guy villain idea. Just be like, let me just tell you my master plan real quick. I got you. And it's just like
something that was thrown into those movies so vague, and you're like, and you just think like it's not going to turn into a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, but when they go about on how it happened, you're like, wow, like that's how they're going to do it.
That's
like,
completely feasible too.
Yes.
And they took and they pulled from the Tony Stark part too.
Yes.
It was Tony Stark's Avenger movie?
Yes.
When he talks about having the
arc reactor.
Not the arc reactor, but they used his therapy machine as his illusion.
I thought you meant the other guy, but yeah.
Yes, and they also have the arc reactor and everything like that. But they pulled from every different movie and different people, and it was very cool to kind of like just make that work. Because at no point did I think they ever like really planned who's going to be what.
Right.
They just made it work.
Now, notice too, though, with the thing that you just brought up is that when I was watching this movie, I saw the formula right away. In the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, every villain came from Oscorp. Now every villain from the MCU is coming from
Stark Industries.
From Stark Industries, right?
Yeah. It fits so much better. I mean, there is no Oscorp actually really right now. If there is, it's kind of hidden away.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you have Ned. Ned's the best friend. not not Osborn.
Well,
whatever.
Ned in the comic books is Hobgoblin.
Yes, but I'm saying that there is no Green Goblin
Yeah.
or Oscorp. There's not really a hint to that. I feel like they're going to bring that in later on,
Well,
where he grows up.
There's a rumor right now, not confirmed, but there's a rumor that they are looking at Matthew McConaughey to play Norman Osborn.
All right.
Any bad things that you did not like about this movie? No?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I'm
there
being
was-
hard pressed right now to find something bad.
Me too. Before we started recording the show, I'm contemplating, like, what are some bad things or some things that I really didn't like about the movie, and I really can't come up with anything. I felt like, the main reason why I didn't like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies because I felt like they were like too romantic, like that Twilight romance, and that's what like killed it for me. But I felt like this movie wasn't like overly romantic. Maybe like it had like
Just enough.
It just had exactly. It had just enough, and there was so much action. But I really can't find anything that I'm not liking about this movie.
I feel like this is the smallest thing, but I think like maybe the thing I don't like the most is Aunt May. I'm not too fond of the character. He calls her May. It's not Aunt May. It's like.
Yeah. Well, they gotta make some things different and not do the same things. Like, how do you feel about Aunt May knowing that he is Spider-Man?
Yeah, 50-50.
50-50.
I really couldn't care less either way. But
Interesting.
I just don't like the character. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
So if you were gonna give this movie a grading of a CGC grade, what is it? Tell me. I'm ready.
I would stick to probably around 8.7.
So 8.5 or a 9.0?
Yeah.
All right.
I would have to. I'd lean more to the 9.0.
9.0? Interesting. If I was going to give this movie a rating, I think I'm going to go with the 9.4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot, and I think it's pretty close to what the Rotten Tomatoes is giving it and what IMDb is giving it with the audience score as well. So I think 9.4 is my initial feeling for this movie.
Fair, definitely. I mean, and definitely watching the second one gives me a better feeling for the first one, where I would, whatever my rating was for that one, I would rescind it and probably give it a couple more bumps.
True.
Just because it sits together much better as a story.
So I'm going to ask you this, okay? What is your favorite Spider-Man movie ever made? A little off topic, but.
It'd have to be the new one. I like this one that much. Like, it just sits above the rest because of,
Wow.
It was either that or it was one of
Wow.
the Simon, it was one of the Garfield ones.
I'm shocked that this is your favorite one.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
No,
folks.
really?
I was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting that at all. Wow, that's pretty amazing.
What about you?
My favorite one, it comes really close. My favorite one is definitely Spider-Man 2 with Dr. Octopus. When I think of
knew it.
Spider-Man, that
shocked
is
at all.
the movie for me. And if I were to compare, like, out of all the Spider-Man movies that ever came out, I'm gonna rank this one second.
Yeah?
Yeah, because like I really like where this is going. There was a time where I was watching this movie, and I'm seeing him web slinging, and there was a time where I was just sitting down and I was just like, man, I cannot believe I am watching another Spider-Man movie.
How many is it now? We're at 7? 7 movies now.
Yeah,
Not counting Avengers stuff.
3 Rami with
Maguire.
Maguire, 2 with Garfield, and 2 with
Holland.
this guy.
No, yeah.
And that, plus we get to see him in Avengers too. So
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't really count. But wow, so first place for this one, it was really good, man. I really like you said, I really loved what they did with Mysterio. And what did you think about Gyllenhaal playing him?
I think he's a great actor. I think he did justice to this because he played that kind of friend and sinister act.
Yeah.
He played it really well. Like the part when
he went from like I'm that nice guy to like okay, like I'm a freaking crazy person, and I'm gonna do whatever it is that I need to get where I need to be.
Like when he lost the projector.
Yes.
And he just ended up making himself. Still thought he was the good guy, and he ended up saying like, if I have to kill Spider-Man, it's gonna be on your hands.
Yeah.
Like at that point, he feels justified in his actions, and he still thinks he's being a good guy. But Spider-Man's just in the way.
Yeah, no, it was definitely good. It was. I would have to say that Spider-Man 2 is my top favorite. This one would be second, and third is I don't know. It's kind of like tied between the first Spider-Man movie or Homecoming.
Yeah, I can see that. All right.
And the Andrew Garfield ones like kind of go like last place.
Not
for
really,
me.
not for me. I liked him. I liked the character of Spider-Man. I didn't like Tobey Maguire as a Spider-Man.
No.
That's what really killed it for me. It's not they did a really good job executing it. I didn't like Tobey Maguire in comparison. Like I love Garfield with his quick wit and sass and everything like that. That's what really sold me on that one.
Well, I wonder why.
And I haven't. Whatever.
It totally makes sense on what you say over here.
Yeah.
So, anything else you'd like to add for this movie? I think it's actually kind of funny that.
How long did you stick around in that movie theater?
What do you mean?
You didn't stick around after credits, did you?
Of course I stood after credits.
Both of them?
Yes, of course I
All
did.
right. How do you feel about the whole scroll thing?
I wasn't. To be quite, maybe that's my first thing that I didn't really like about this one. I didn't actually care about the scroll thing at all, actually.
I didn't like that they tried to make Nick Fury like duplicate.
Yeah.
And because it definitely shows on Nick Fury's character in the movie. He was very out of character, very emotional, very high-strung, very
True.
just not Nick Fury. And it made sense that they brought the Skrull in to do it. And I was like, I hope they lead into something good.
Yeah.
Because, I imagine they probably lead into what? Secret Wars?
I don't know if it's going to come with something with Captain Marvel, because...
I wouldn't be surprised if they're going for another big Avengers story. Because they just did the Thanos arc. What's next?
Secret Invasion?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the big story back in the early 2000s with all the with Super Skrulls and stuff. There was the Secret Invasion.
I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if they could end up bringing Fantastic Four into the mix.
True. Yeah. Well, I guess now is the time.
Yeah, it's the big part.
The Super Skrull is all of the Fantastic Four people in one.
And they just got rid of a lot of characters because of the end of contract. Captain America, Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they're just going to try to refill the roles.
Well, I thought it was kind of refreshing when they brought up in the movie too with all the multi-universes. So that's kind of like hint, like a Tony Stark and Captain America can come back, but it's going to be from another universe.
I wouldn't be surprised if a different actor.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. That's how they would definitely play out. I mean, I'm totally all set with not seeing a Captain America or an Iron Man for a while. I mean,
yeah. Female Thor, Beta Ray Bill, be some possibles.
Well, Jane Foster could be Thor like they did in the comics.
Yep, that is true. I mean, I'd be interested to see some of this stuff.
That's some of the things that I think we're definitely going to be seeing. So, all right, so guys, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Superpower Review. If you liked anything that Jake and I had to say, make sure you leave this video a huge thumbs up, and tell us what you thought about in the movie in the comment section. Let's start a really little conversation in the comment section. I like when you guys comment on things, and I get to start like a party. Woo! If you want to see more from the channel, make sure you subscribe, and that's going to do it. Thanks so much thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys really soon. That was good.